Hi, I'm Rory. I'm an identity architect and mainly in the Microsoft space. I also do a little bit of Auth0 and Identity Server and one or two of the others. I have a blog up on Medium called the New Control Plane. The links are up there. The link at the bottom is the one we're going to discuss, which is about adding a SAML stack. So let's go and look at the exact article. So the idea is that we're going to go short little videos, max probably 5 minutes. So we're just going to go through short little topics, something you can dip into at lunchtime or whatever, and hopefully you learn something. So the genesis of this jog post was I see a lot of questions on Stack Overflow about I've got an application, my boss says I have to hook it up to some kind of SAML provider. I know nothing about SAML. I've Googled for a day. My head's overflowing. I've just read so much stuff. I'm probably even more confused than when I started. So the first point to make is that do not write your own SAML stack. SAML is complicated. There's a lot of gotchas. Leave it in the hands of people who really know what they're talking about. Let's have a look at what's out there. So in terms of the free ones, in terms of C#, there was a SAML variation for WIF 1.0 in .NET 3.5. It was a CTP, a community technology preview. It didn't get much love. It didn't get any bug fixes. And one day it just disappeared from the internet. So at the current time, there is no Owen or NuGet SAML stack written by Microsoft. We have a few others around there. We've got the one from OneLogin. We've got the one from SustainSys that used to be called Kenter Auth Services. The ones with an asterisk are ones that I've used, and it does support .NET Core. Again, that's a good one. We've got some other ones that you can read about. I haven't used any of them. Then we get into Java, OpenSAML. Well, that's the top kind of free one. That's what Shibboleth's built on, and it comes with a very good book. So if you're thinking of going and using that stack in the Java world, I recommend the book. The biggie, of course, is Spring Security. Ton of work being done there. They've got a very solid implementation. And the PHP world, Simple SAML PHP. It's a really good implementation. There's a lot of documentation. There's a lot of examples on the internet. It can be a service provider. It can be an identity provider. And then Ruby and Python. I don't actually use those. Node, of course, you're going to look at password SAML. That's a very good implementation, and it's been tested with a wide range of identity systems. In the commercial space, well, I've used Component Space. I recommend it. It's a good solution. It can do IDP and SP. The nice part about it, it comes in two variations. It has a top level one that you can call really high level functions, and you don't need to know a lot about SAML. And if you really need to get into the nuts and bolts of it, there's lower level functions that do specific things. We've also got Rock Solid Knowledge. They have a SAML stack that is designed for Identity Server 4. So that means it runs on .NET Core. I've used it. It's pretty good, but it is only at the moment for an SP, not for an IDP. So that's a really high level overview. Before you get there, I would ask, why do you want to use SAML? Is it because someone's just done a bit of reading, or is it because the IDP supports SAML? So one of the questions is, well, does it support something else? If it supported, for example, OpenID Connect, that would be a much simpler implementation to get working. So maybe look at that side of it. If your application is a mobile application, probably SAML is not the best way to go. SAML is quite a complicated protocol. It's got some pretty heavy cryptographic requirements. That's not going to really work in a mobile world. Again, OpenID Connect, probably a better choice. The other option is not to worry about your client-side SAML stack, but to use identity as a service. So there's a lot of examples there. There's Auth0, there's Okta, Optimal IDM, Ping, ForgeRock, OneLogin. And they all pretty much do the same things. So what you can do is you can take your application and hook it up to any of these using, let's say, OpenID Connect. So there's a lot of examples out there. It's pretty easy to hook it up. There's samples, there's code. So you hook it up using a really simple protocol to your identity as a service provider, and then they will have all the SAML stacks, and then you can connect this identity as a service provider. You connect that to the SAML host. So you let them take care of all the intricacies and all the things about SAML. On your side, it's really easy, and you kind of join all the links together, and off you go, and you end up from your application on the SAML IDP, and your job's done. So there's a number of different ways of doing it. Again, it depends whether you want to pay, whether you don't want to pay, what language you're using. But just to reiterate, please do not write your own. Thanks for listening.